It's a beautiful, brisk, cool morning here at Watkins Glen International in New York State's Finger Lakes region. And we are getting ready for qualifying for the Pirelli GT4 America Sprint category. And there is a look at the gentleman who is leading in the points, Ian James, the number 50 Panos, the beautiful Avezzano GT, as he sits looking for a gap to get out on track and put some qualifying in. Two different categories out on track, obviously the Pro category and the AM category as well, and setting up for the first of the doubleheader races that will be unfolding this weekend. There is a look at the number 7 of Alan Brynjolfsson in the Volt Lighting Park Place Motorsports Porsche. Greg Kramer alongside Calvin Fish, and taking a look at the times from the practice sessions. Cal, fastest time was Michael Cooper at a 1:55.263 in the first session yesterday morning. And interestingly, they've been struggling and working through a turbo issue on that car and all the testing. Clearly they got that figured out. And you consider last year's pole lap by Ian James was a 55 flat. Cooper's already within 0.2 of it.
Yeah, and they're starting to hit this stride. I mean, they started off the year with a new McLaren, kind of struggling to find the balance, find the pace in the race car. We were surprised that other teams were outperforming them. But suddenly we got to Sonoma. Michael gets a win. He's only 3 points out of the championship lead. They now come and test. So I think for these last 3 rounds of the events of the championship, 6 races to go, of course, with the doubleheader weekends, everyone is on full alert that Michael Cooper could be going for another championship charge here.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the lines that Tony Gable said, they were looking forward to this break after Sonoma. He said, or after Port, he said we could take a deep dive into this McLaren chassis. Well, apparently they were putting up 9.8s, 9.9s in that dive because they really have found some pace here. And I mean, he actually topped both of the sessions. Then with Spencer Pumpelly, Jared Andretti in one of them, Andretti, Shane Lewis, nice to see, and Ian James hovering right there in that top 5 in both of those sessions. Here's a look at that machine, the number 10 of Cooper. A little bit different. Finally got something other than just that beautiful black on that car. They've got some different colors on it. The number 66 he's going by is Spencer Pumpelly in the Racers Group. The Sol Solutions and Pastime Porsche, that is a car that's going to seriously play a role here as well, right in that championship hunt.
Yeah, it's I mean, you hate to call it a 3-horse race. There's a lot of great competitors in this championship, but coming into the year, you expected to see Ian James, Michael Cooper, and Spencer Pumpelly leading the charge, and they lead the points. I mean, there's 8 points separating the 3 of them right now. Gar Robinson and Shane Lewis the nearest chasers, but they're a considerable margin back, so you'd have to think that the title will go to one of these 3 guys. Spencer's had a couple of wins on the year, as has Ian. Michael broke through and got his first win of the year at the last event at Sonoma. So everyone is very much on form. It's going to be all about execution at this stage of the game.
How great is it to see this guy back? Last time we saw him race was right here at Watkins Glen in 2018 when he clinched the AM class championship. That is Jeff Courtney out of Wisconsin in the Kender Wreck Stuff Maserati, and that is an old school GT4 car, no ABS, no TC in it, but he wheels it around this track very, very quickly. He was fastest in one of the sessions in the AM category, and I still say it's one of the prettiest sounding cars on the racetrack this weekend.
It really is, and I had a chat with him yesterday, and one concern they've been having with that car is the electronics on the gearbox. So it seems like they're good in these type of conditions where it's cooler, the shorter runs, but when they get 40 minutes in, there always seems to be something kind of gets into a limp mode or into a stuck in gear mode, and that's obviously a problem when you have a 50-minute race. So we'll have to wait and see what happens this afternoon. But in terms of pace, yes, he led the AM charge here yesterday.
He did indeed. Here's the number 12 of Stavely, who was always quick. He defending AM champion in the Sprint X category, and interestingly, at Portland International Raceway, Cal, and I think it was the second of the Sprint X races there. He ended up with an overall pole as an AM driver. He can really wheel it, and it'll be interesting to see if this Mustang is suited to this track. It's interesting, you know, there's with the BOP, in theory, all the cars are within a window and everybody has an opportunity. Even so, certain tracks just favor certain models a little bit here, and it'll be interesting to see where this car slots out. Right now, it is Jared Andretti in the number 18 Andretti Autosport McLaren at the top at a 56.386, followed by the AM provisional pole sitter number 11 Tony Gaples in the Black Dog McLaren. He'll be loving that at a 56.9.
That's awesome, because Tony's not the best of qualifiers, but he's one of the best racers we have. He always gains seemingly more positions than anyone during the course of the races. But here we're looking at Andretti down in the laces of the boot there, kicking up a little bit of dust. What a year he's had. Just goes from strength to strength, it seems.
Yeah, got promoted after the first few rounds from Am to Pro because, as you said, his pace was so good. By the way, Stavely has gone to the top, so at a 55.9, so I guess the Mustang's pretty well suited.
Yeah, and I think the thing is with that car, we think of the Mustang as a big muscle car, Greg, but the reality is it's got a lot of downforce. They really worked hard on the downforce package with that GT4 Mustang. It's great under the braking, and maybe not the strongest in a straight line.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different to what you'd look at just looking at it at face value.
And Cooper now goes to the top at a 155.174. So Michael Cooper, the point leader, who topped both of the practice sessions, showing it. How about the run by Jeff Burton at a 55.7? Jeff running, he and his co-driver Vesko Kozarov running the full Western Sprint X Championship, but whenever he can, he shows up and runs in the sprint here and doing a superb job. Fastest in the AM category right now over Stavely. And Andretti displaces Cooper, goes to the top at a 54.68. Well, that was
a nice lap. Certainly the McLaren's looking good here. See if Michael Cooper can respond.
That's a serious queue of cars there. Cooper, then it is the Steve Cameron Racing entry of Sean Quinlan, that orange and blue machine. And then it is the Panos of James, and behind him the Porsche Pompelli.
James is kind of buried in the charts right now, looking for a clear lap. Obviously elected to stay on pit lane and let the traffic settle in and see if they could find a good spot. And I'm sure having a little carrot to chase in front of him in terms of Michael Cooper, but it doesn't have that anymore.
While we're watching that, just to update you, both Gar Robinson and Shane Lewis in the Robinson Racing 74 Ranch Camaros have jumped into the top 4. Robinson to second in the 74, Lewis to fourth in the 72. There's Gar, and he started this season off and was absolutely hooked up. Said in the offseason they'd done a lot of testing and helped him really understand these Pirelli tires, but he's hitting a little bit of a dip here, and results just haven't been there for him, and boy, he needs this. And see if he can keep this going. That was a 54.8. That's a solid lap.
Yeah, he really had a strong start to the year. As you mentioned, Greg, he had 4 podiums in the first 5 races, and then suddenly just seemed to have lost his way a little bit. I think he's refocused, had a little bit of break in the action. It's been 3 months since we've seen these cars running, so.
Andretti, they just improved that lap. He ran a 55.4. His best lap still that 54.6. Stavely continues to lead in the AM category, running 5th overall, the number 12 Mustang. Lewis now displaces Cooper, jumps to 3rd. Lewis in the 72. 74 Ranch Resort entry.
Yeah, I look for Michael Cooper to see what he can do here. He obviously didn't want to give Ian James a tow on that lap. I'm assuming that's why he aborted. I mean, the problem with doing it that late in the lap, you're immediately going offline. There can be some marbles out there. It's tough to get back into a rhythm because the lap really starts with momentum through that final corner to get on that front straightaway and cross the stripe with some speed. So to wait and see how this one develops.
Here's a look at the 72 of Lewis. See what he does in the second sector. Had a decent first sector. Not the best, but a decent one. See what that second sector puts up for him here. He's coming up behind the number 2 of Jason Bell, one of the AM competitors.
Jason working with Andrew Davis in Sprint X competition, but it certainly feeds into the sprint race as well in terms of the feedback on the car and the direction and the mentoring. So I think Bell has done a great job in terms of grabbing Andrew Davis, one of the best in the business at this level of GT racing.
Yeah, smart move. Jarrett continues to push it here.
He's really leaning on it. This has got to be so different from what he's been brought up with in terms of the grip level here at Watkins Glen is incredible. You just hear the tires howling. He is asking that car for a little bit more, and maybe starting to overdrive the tires, or the tires have peaked a little bit in terms of exceeding their optimum pressures.
And that window world and endurance warranty, McLaren for Andretti pushing hard. Yeah, when they repaved this, was it like 3-4 years ago? Just unbelievable the paving job they did. And it looks like Gar is saying, yep, got what I need out of that lap.
I think he may be in pit lane there,
yep. So
his day may be done. Just under 4 minutes to go. Staveley's off the pipe as well. Currently first in the air class. Narrow margin there over Jeff Courtney. Just a 3/10 between the two.
Yeah, then Burt. And a nice job by Mike McCann Jr., who hasn't done a lot of starts in this GT4 level of racing, has done a lot of TCR racing this year. Previous to that, had done no car racing, had done a lot of off-road four-wheel racing. Let's pick this up in a hurry.
Yeah, Ian James suddenly fastest in sector 2. Can he nail the lap together? Where is he going to leap to second?
Boom. Yeah. That's a 54.7 to Andretti's 54.6.
So that's the experience factor there, just recognizing, you know what, we're going to go out. Didn't immediately find a clear run, but didn't panic. Recognized there was some time on the board, and when it counted, he put together a nice lap and has got another good one going here.
And Pompelli has jumped up into 5th, so Cooper suddenly finds himself in the 6th spot.
That's definitely a surprise.
Yeah. You know, the thing with Spencer, too, he may have been leading this championship, but for a couple of issues at some earlier rounds in the championship where he clearly was the quickest driver but wasn't able to bring it home with the results. And I'm sure that adds to the fire and the motivation just a little bit.
It does. It's hard to put it behind you. VIR was just such a tough weekend for him. Basically went home with the goose egg. And but he's still in the fight, and you just got to focus forward.
And you talked about the experience of James, you know, but obviously with Pompelli. One of the big factors of that is just the simple fact of not panicking when you've only got 3 minutes left in the session and you're 20th. Of knowing, okay, this is by design.
Yeah, and having good communication with the pit stand. Some really top-notch guys there, led by Stefan Pfeiffer and the whole Panos group. Are just a quality race team.
Spencer really sawing at the wheel up there through.
A personal best sector 1, average sector 2. See if he can jump up a little bit. I don't see this being a threat for the pole, but maybe the top 4. See.
And he's got enough time for one more. Where he shakes out here. 55.5. James' lap not quite as quick as his previous one. So this is it for Spencer. Ian James also an opportunity here to put one more in.
Definitely hammer time.
Yes, it is.
Nails left.
Boy, that run up through the S's is just spectacularly fast.
Yeah, he really seemed to be pretty wide there through the bottom of the S's, just trying not to scrub any speed. Then you just got such delicate footwork through it. Oh, gets a little bit wide there. Maybe okay.
Yeah.
That third apex through there, you really don't have to get tight too. And I actually heard a couple of the GT drivers when they were jumping out of the cars yesterday. Anthony Suchek was talking to Alvaro Prince saying, I just followed Vilander through the inner loop, and he doesn't get anywhere near that third curb, and it looks pretty good. I tried it, and I think it may be better. So it was nice just to be airwigging on those guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and that's the curb too, isn't it? That has produced some of the concerns. The backside of it, super aggressive, and that can really wreak havoc with rims and tires.
Yeah, and I think when you go through that inner loop, obviously right, left, and that next left, that third one, to get to it, you really have to compromise your exit speed off the second one. Do you know what I mean? To be able to get back over there. So if you give that up, you're basically straight lining through, and That curb is pretty compliant, that last one, as long as you don't abuse the tires or the suspension too much through there. Maybe that's the way through there, the quick way.
All right, Spencer, absolutely on it through the second to the last corner, down through the final turn, all the way to the wall. What does he get in here? It's not going to be quite enough. Does he move up? No, a 55.5 on that lap, and a 55.1 was his best, but it was fun to watch.
It was. Sure. Certainly giving it all. So even on one lap pace, I mean, we've seen that Porsche quick on one lap pace here, and maybe struggle compared to some of the other cars over the full green flag distance. Maybe they've compromised their setup a little bit, Greg, to make it more user-friendly over the long run, or maybe they're just struggling for pace here this weekend. But you know that he and the whole TRG group will be working every angle to try and outscore their nearest competitors and hopefully be on a podium or maybe the win by the end of the afternoon.
I'll tell you, it's absolutely no surprise to see Jared Andretti up front, but it is a great story when you consider he started the year as an AM, and he puts up an overall pole once again here in an absolutely great run. Surprise to me, Cooper 6th.
Big surprise. Led both practice sessions yesterday. We expect him at least be fighting out for the top 3. James, a nice recovery. Good recovery. Talking of recoveries, 74 Ranch team, 3rd and 4th with Gar, just pipping his teammate Shane Lewis to the 3rd position. That's a really solid run for those Chevy Camaros.
Yes.
But definitely Pompelli 5th, Cooper 6th. That's the surprise of the session. And Jared Andretti, congratulations. Another great run, mate. And
in the top 5 in qualifying, 4 different marks. Shows you there's some pretty good parity and diversity in this championship. In the AM category, Drew Stavely does bring it home with a good pole run at a 55.3, a margin of about 0.3 over Jeff Courtney, the defending champion. As you take a look at the order, Stavely there 7th overall, then Courtney, then Burton. That's your top 3 in the AM category, a Mustang, a Maserati, and an Audi. So again, some good parity there as well. And then you look at Dynan and Gaples next up in the AM category, and that's a Porsche and a McLaren. So 5 different marks in the top 5 in the AM class. I think we're in for some good racing, and it'd be intriguing to find out what the issue may have been with Cooper.
Yes, definitely missed it somewhat there. Maybe they took a bit of a flyer on the setup.
All right, there is your provisional pole sitter. Congratulations to Jared Andretti.